As a business owner in this business, particularly, there's so many things coming at you. I don't care how great of a memory you have or feel that you have. If you can't set something to ping you to remind you that, oh yeah, do that, and it might be just go to lunch, you're going to lose it. And you're going to skip it, and you're not going to do it, and it's going to get missed until the consumer comes back upset.
Are you wrapping cars more than 12 hours a day, every day? Working nonstop but can barely get by? Burnout, missing deadlines, and wondering just how much longer you can keep this up?
That was us too. We started our wrap shop buried under $250,000 in debt, and it felt absolutely impossible. But we dug out, built a profitable shop, and are still in the trenches of owning and operating a wrap shop. We're here to share what we learned along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
And we're here to help you with the business side of the wraps, like pricing, building a team, streamlining your systems, ultimately so that you can run your shop and your shop stops running you.
Welcome to the Wrap Ops Podcast, brought to you by Wrap Fam Unleashed. If this is your first time tuning in to the Wrap Ops Podcast, you are really in for a huge treat. Today, we are sitting down in person at SEMA with the one and only Austin Smith, a serial entrepreneur out of Florida with an incredible story. You might know him from his previous wrap shop, 201 Wrap, or as the visionary behind the legendary brand Pain is Dead, or maybe even from his professional wrap tool line, Pro Series. Austin is also the newest Lifetime Achievement Award winner and the host of the industry's largest annual recognition event in Las Vegas, all dedicated to driving the wrap industry forward. And on top of that, he is also a loving husband and a dad. So you might be wondering, how does he do it all? How can one person have so many things running so smoothly at once? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. Today, we're going to take you inside the mind of Austin to explore one of his biggest passions, building systems that work for you. So if you're ready to start working on your business instead of just in it, this is the episode for you. You'll walk away with real, tangible systems that you can apply to your shop and to your life. Hi, Austin. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hello, Tanner. Thanks for having me. It's
Yes.
truly a pleasure.
So excited. So we attempted yesterday, may have had a little Wi-Fi issue. So we have some good repeat questions, but we're going to act like we didn't talk at all.
All right.
But we had a great conversation. So I'm
We
super
did.
excited to dive back into that. We had to stop and be like, okay, hold on. We need to have the mics going.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect.
Be part of it.
Yeah. So what the big topic we're talking about today is systems and the
Right.
importance of them in your business. So just blanket term, vague for any listener out there, why should their wrap shop have systems? What's the benefit to them?
Well, systems allow you to move and other people in the business to move around without affecting the actual business itself, because the system really is meant to take the load of what humans are trying to do. And so anytime that you can employ a system, you obviously are organizing the business and you're getting things kind of set up and who's gonna take care of them and how it's gonna move through the business. And that's really the most important thing that I see when it comes to a business. And obviously the only lifeline that I see to get you to a point of sale or just taking time away from the business,
Sure.
coming to SEMA for a week and not shutting down your shop in order to do so.
Exactly. So with these systems, is it something that a shop needs to wait till they have X amount of employees, or how soon could an
No.
entrepreneur start this?
I say systems day one. And,
Okay.
and obviously systems are a little bit more difficult with one person than two.
Yeah.
When you get to two, then it's okay, we're on. But even as a one person thing, if you can imagine you're trying to collect balances from people that owe you as a single person running a shop, and you're trying to get designs out the door and you're trying to print and you're trying to install, you can understand quickly how it's unattainable. So at least when you can get to two, you can break those things and say okay, these are this person's responsibilities and these are mine. And the system's going to run through me to them to back to the customer. And so you're creating that path within the business that says this is the way every single job is going to go through. And as long as we follow the system, it will work.
Yeah, there won't be any gaps or holes
Correct.
or missteps.
And when somebody's out, when that number 2 person is out, or if you have a team of 18 and number 17 is out, it doesn't matter, because someone can kind of lean into that for a day or for a week while you're gone in order to help keep the system going in the right direction.
So when you started 201 Wrap, what was the first thing that you were okay, we need to systematize this? Was it the sales process? Was it the install process, or a little bit of the above? Or
So
what did
I
it look
think
like in those early days?
I think it was my role.
Okay.
I was trying to collect balances and design and schedule and talk to customers and do all these things. And very early on, I was blessed to have a partner that was a friend of mine for a very long time and a really good installer. And so he had the section that he took over, and it was kind of everything after design. And so that was great. But I found myself just getting bogged down and needing to wear different hats, but not being in that right mental space to do it. And so for me, I envisioned it early on as like, hey, I got to put on my accounting hat now and go handle that part of the business. And then now I'm going to come over here and put on my design hat, handle that part of the business. And so for me, it was great that I had the opportunity to work with somebody I trusted and we worked well together. But I had to make sure that myself was compartmentalized enough to say, like, I can't do it all at one time. I'm going to be ineffective. And so setting that system up and how we did it. And so it may have been as easy as like, hey, I'm going to do design from 9 to 10. I'm going to check accounts from 10 to 11, from 11 to 12. I'm going to get jobs set up to print and then kind of go through my day like that. And so no matter what happened in my day, how much things went awry, which they always do in a wrap shop, you were able to kind of get yourself back to a space and say, okay, what am I supposed to be doing between 10 and 11? And oh yeah, it's that. Okay, let me jump in and do 30 minutes of that today. I'll be a little short, but jump to the next process after that. And so those are the things that are so important in a business like this, that it's all custom, it's all unique, it's all different. And how do you like hold yourself together in a day?
Especially when you don't have a boss.
Correct.
Too, because it's just like you could just, be nonchalant all day and
just
kind of fiddle around and and no one's going to yell at you or
Yeah.
anything except maybe your customers.
That's right. But you hit the nail on the head. Like, a lot of people think when they get in business, they're like, I don't have a boss. I can do what I want. Really, in essence, what you're doing is hiring, 100 bosses or 1,000 bosses, which are all your customers.
You work for your customers and your employees
bosses now.
too.
That's right.
When you start hiring. So I always joke that, I work for you guys.
That's right.
Even though it feels the opposite.
That's
but awesome. So in those early days when you were setting that system for yourself, did you set it in stone and you still follow that today? Or how many times do you feel like that evolved?
So, but until we put a CRM in, so from 08 to 12, we didn't have a CRM.
Oh, wow.
And so ultimately, like you had quote unquote a system, like we all knew what we were doing, but every time the customer stepped in, it was derailing the system. And so you're almost fighting the customer. And that's something that I learned I needed to move away from really quickly. And so a friend of ours introduced us to Trello in 2012. And once we put things on Trello, the Trello system or the CRM that you're using becomes the actual system.
And it's like the brain out of it, so you can dump.
And the joke throughout the day is like, hey, I can talk to you as my designer and we can make a decision on something. But at the end, it's like, who's putting this on Trello?
Sure.
Who's going to go back and note this on Trello? So that 6 months, 2 years, 12 years from now, when we come back and reference this job, we understand what was happening in the job. We're like, oh, don't fall in that pitfall again. There was an error we made. Let's make sure that we don't do that again, type of mentality. So like it is a system. It's, I call it putting the things on the system because you can set reminders, you can set due dates, you can do all these things to where you don't have to remember it anymore.
Yeah.
And as a business owner in this business, particularly, there's so many things coming at you. I don't care how great of a memory you have or feel that you have. If you can't set something to ping you to remind you that, oh yeah, do that. And it might be just go to lunch. You're going to lose it and you're going to skip it and you're not going to do it. And it's going to get missed until the consumer comes back upset.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times this is super embarrassing that I missed payroll because I didn't have it like on a set day on the calendar. So even at SEMA this morning, I was like, oh shoot, today's payroll. Because I got that like calendar notification. So even something that simple of on this day at this time, I do payroll. And if you have a customer walk in and interrupt that time, that's fine. You just know before you go home that day, I have to get this done.
Right. And you say like it's something as simple as payroll, like that might be the most detrimental thing to a business, right? But it just shows how sometimes the most important thing can be missed just because you're trying to build this system. You're trying to put together this procedure in a way that you worked on the process, which is the business every single day.
So when it comes to your Trello board and things like that, did you develop like SOPs and have it like written down? Is there like a manual or how do you record your systems so that someone else can repeat?
So for us, it's more that the columns that we use on Trello, and these are the when you look at Trello for the first time, I had so many people say like, I downloaded Trello, I was so excited to use it. And then I got there and it's like a blank board and I didn't know what to do, you know?
Yeah, you have to
so
fill it out.
these columns you set up for me are the job responsibilities and the systems that are in place and how the job moves through the business. And so there's different boards that different employees use. It might be a design board that multiple employees are using. It might be a sales board that multiple employees are using. But those individual columns for us are the systems and the job responsibilities for the employees. So the employee can never come back to me and say, I didn't know that was my responsibility.
Right.
Because it's there. It's part of the process that you're working through. So in short term, our SOP is really our Trello flow and how things work. So you want to understand how our SOP works, just go from the beginning in sales to
That's a huge
accounting,
point.
to production, to design, to ordering, to installation,
Sure.
and so forth. So like that is our SOP and how it works. Because what I found so much is that I've worked for business before. They give me an employee manual, they give me SOPs,
Yeah.
and the first thing you do is be like, yep, thanks, appreciate that. And you put that in a drawer over there and you never look at it again. And
Yeah.
so SOPs in today's world, especially like printed out or like even PDF type of SOPs, like what's the actual retention rate that your employees are
Going back and
following
referring to it.
to it? And it's easy as an owner to say, I know it by the back of my hand. It's page number 12, section, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
The employee doesn't know it. And so it's important to have those things, in my opinion, in front of them every single day. They are constantly reminded, almost to the point that they don't look at it as a job responsibility.
Yeah.
They look at it as a process of the business to get to the next step.
Right. And you brought up a good point too of your employee can't say, oh, I didn't know that was on me. So it makes that accountability piece so much
Right.
easier instead of that, at least me, 'cause I'm a big empath. I struggled with like, I don't want to get on to them because they do great work, but they keep missing this one step where if it's black and white, it makes the conversation very easy.
It does.
And set up.
And even
So
as you're
that's
going back
nice.
and coaching, when those when those things happen, when the fire happens and something goes wrong, and you go back and you coach and you're like, okay, so Tanner, we were working on this and we got this process done in this one, and then where did it go from there? Well, it didn't.
Yeah.
You know? So
it
it's like
didn't.
it's right in front of you. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not even something that you have to like have that weird conversation. It's just that real thing that like
Yeah.
didn't get moved to that.
And it's
spot.
not even like a punishment thing. It's just
No.
like what happened here. And it could be something in the system is broken.
Sure.
So there's been times in the workflow where I'm like, okay, they keep making the same mistake and multiple people have made it.
Yep.
So I see that we have a gap right here. And then we'll have like a quick team meeting of like, we're going to adjust our system to implement, this new plan.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot. Like we had our print operator, one of her concerns was how often she was getting just completely interrupted throughout the day to do a reprint.
Yep.
So we came up with like a reprint process of like, you're going to Slack Elena, this is what I need printed. Is it a rush? Yes or no?
Yep.
Like, do I need it this second or can you do it before you leave for the day?
Yep.
So that she wasn't like losing her train of thought every
And
5 minutes.
what's funny is when you
So-
say that, we implement almost the same thing in our processes, but it's like you've got to tag that person on Trello.
Yeah.
You can't walk into Selena.
Oh, Elena?
You can't
Elena,
walk
yeah.
into Atlanta's office and stop her.
Yes.
Just
and that's
like
what was
you
happening.
don't want to be stopped in the middle of what you're doing. And so
Right.
like for us, we're like, it's got to happen on Trello. If it didn't happen on Trello, it didn't happen.
So they can do like the @ sign at an
Yep.
employee's name and it'll ping them.
Yep.
Okay, nice.
And
So
so
we're
then-
kind of doing that with Slack.
Yeah, they have to, so our employees have a system where they have to respond to tags before they check out for the day.
Nice.
And so ultimately they're going through all those by the end of the day. But it's a way that sales knows I can't commit to a customer that's asking me to do something today. Now, if that has to happen, I've got to go to a manager and
Sure.
push a different way. I can't tag the pre-press operator and get something printed today without Austin or without my manager stepping in and doing that because I just don't have the ability to do that. So
Yeah. And then you also mentioned right there, even the checkouts for the end of the day. That's a system too.
Yep.
So I remember in our business, we didn't have that at the end. And it's so like such a tiny little
It
system
is.
to put in place of having your team check out with you just before they leave for the day,
yeah.
just to kind of know where everyone's at. Or else you're just like, wait, did this person leave? Like, where are they at?
Yeah.
Like, are they in the bathroom?
Yeah. It's so
even that
real with
alone-
every business though, right? Like every business as you close, every position kind of has this like close down
Yeah.
operation. And so in the end, you're doing those things. You're making sure everything is kind of ready and prepped for tomorrow, closing
Yes,
everything
set up
out,
the next day
checking
is
all your
huge.
tags, your emails, like you're just closing out in a comfortable way that you can go home, sleep, rest, come back the next day ready to go at it again.
Yeah. And I think all of the systems too are huge on managing the stress level in a
Absolutely.
shop. So I assume you've probably experienced a shop that was super stressful
Yeah, my shop.
before. And yeah, ours too. And you just like, it's like you as the owner don't even want to show up sometimes because you're like, oh my God, like this is a shit show. Like
Yeah.
everything is just on fire all the time. So the systems, it's like you have to take a step back to create them because it's a lot of work to implement, but then you get that relief later on. So that was a big thing in the beginning of like, if you're installing every day and trying to drive profits that way, and maybe you haven't made your first hire, how do you take time to work on the business instead of in it? And that might be a late night, an early morning, but it'll be worth it later.
Yeah, or you're splitting, your responsibilities in install to half days. You're like, hey, listen, that's all I can invest in is a half day. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to do a full wrap. I'm going to get, some of the little miscellaneous jobs done in a half day versus, some of a full wrap. And then the latter half of the day, I've got to invest invest in the other part of the business because it's just
Sure.
as important to be
So
there.
like
But
time blocking
correct.
is really important.
And if you can't do, the way these businesses operate, because they're so custom and because there's no, like, we're not talking about a franchise that exists in the world today, right? Like
Right.
there's no book you buy when you open up a wrap shop that says this is what you need to do. And
I
as long as you
wish.
do X, Y, and Z, you're good at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So we're all winging it. But
Mhm.
what's important to me is like the people that are in this industry that have been in the industry a very long time and people like you guys that are so impacted by processes and systems in the business will show how a business that may be around half the time of mine
Mhm.
will be able to catch up to the success level and the systems level of mine by simply focusing on those things. And so part of what I'm doing this in 2026 is spending time in the industry with shops. And so like we'll go up to a shop in Maryland the beginning of December.
Mhm.
And again, like you said, it's hard when you're so close to the nucleus that you may not understand how to implement that system or how to take what's working and make it that much better or improve the profit margin. But we are actually going to go up there and from the outside, go into this shop and say, hey, this is how we can improve these things. And here's how we can increase the profit margin on exactly what you're already doing.
Right.
So,
exactly. Without changing much. And that also takes that owner to be open and receptive to
Correct.
feedback and kind of let the ego go. There are times I know, even with me and Andrew, where it's like, no, this is the way we've done it. And we work so hard on it. And it's like, that's great. But what are the actual results?
Correct.
Is it working or not? Like you might just have to scrap it and move on, which I had a question about that as well. So when it comes to making your systems repeatable and profitable, do you ever talk to other shops that you feel like, why are you offering that service that they're kind of getting so many different services going on? Is there, I guess, kind of an advice on what services different shops should offer? If you're not making a lot of money, should you start adding in detailing and adding in, lift kits and things like that? Or should you just stay in your niche and
so I think it's tough to go real outside of your niche. I think our industry is gained a lot of great products that really fit into the wrap, space.
Mhm.
And it just takes you being able to look at it again from the outside and say, like, I can do these other things.
Yeah.
I always say, like, hire somebody great to do it. If you're not a ceramic coating guy, that's fine. Find the best ceramic guy you can find. You're not a PPF guy, that's fine. Find the best PPF guy you can find.
Yeah.
Because you don't ever want to put somebody in that place. If you can't do it, they can't do it to your level. You need to find someone who is actually better than you at what you're doing.
Mhm.
And the same thing as you scale. Like if you're going to replace somebody to do installs, vinyl wise or PPF, make sure you find somebody better than you at it. Now you can still manage them and you can still give them feedback and help them along the way and coach them, but make sure they are good at what they do because your business name relies on it.
Sure.
And so I think getting into the ceramic space, the tint space, the PPF space, even getting into like caliper wraps and things like that. I see a lot of people online like, we don't wrap wheels. Well, your competition does.
Mhm.
I promise.
Yeah.
So ultimately you've got to find a way to make it work more so than turn away the business. And I can't tell you how many times a Fast Science has sent a customer to us because like you guys are the custom wrap guys and this guy wants a custom wrap.
Right.
Well, guess what? Lo and behold, that's now our customer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask you to send me that customer. You said, I'm not going to do that. Those guys do the crazy stuff. Go to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I have a customer because of it. So I appreciate it, but you lost a customer
Mm-hmm.
by doing that. So I think to all aspects, and I tell my salespeople this all the time, sell the job. Sell the job. Then come to me if you need to, or come to your manager if you need to and say, hey, how are we going to get this done?
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to solve this? Let that be the conversation or the heartache. Don't let the sale of a job be the heartache.
Sure. So on the point of, you mentioned your salespeople and hiring someone better than you and whatnot, what systems have you found work really well for retaining your team and, just how often do you check in with them and meetings and, I don't know, maybe bonuses or when do they get a pay bump? Like what systems have you implemented HR wise, I guess, if you will?
So I walk the business every morning. I've sold the wrap business that I owned that I started in 2008. I sold it in 2018. Was supposed to stay on until the end of 18. Still here 7 years later. But I'm there from 9 to 12 every day. So I walk the office from installers to designers to salespeople to accounting every day. Management team, check in, make sure everybody's on the right track, and then ultimately move into coaching and any instances that we need to improve on. But with our pay structures, what we've really implemented is a lot of our sales teams work off of commission.
Sure.
May not be full commission, maybe partial commission, but they find ways. There are ways to bump their pay by them just actually working a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Closing that sale, getting that big job, reaching out to consumers with a fleet versus not, simplifying their job from from a sales perspective and saying like, hey, this guy has 60 vehicles, this guy has one. Who are you really targeting? Who are you trying to bring on?
And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think in our industry, like, and we did it too, where we focus so hard on like, we got to sell this Chrome Delete, but we're
Correct.
ignoring the fleet of 10, HVAC wraps.
That's standing there waiting for you.
That's standing there
Right.
waiting. And it's just like, because we wanted the cool Instagram post.
That's right.
And you have to weigh, what is your target market? What is going to be the most profitable and keep the doors open? And what not to
and I feel
interrupt
like,
you real fast.
yeah, what hits your bank account, right? Is it the likes on
exactly.
Instagram that hits your bank account, or is it the actual payment when the customer closes things out? So for me, it's all about being smart about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so our install team works on the same thing. They work on a piecework or a square foot basis. So those guys, if they're looking forward, they're gonna take a week vacation in 2 months. Stay late, work a little bit extra, get that job done instead of letting it sit till next Wednesday.
Sure.
Come in on the weekends. Reach out to your manager to schedule you more work because you want to build up more pay for the time that you're gone.
So you have this flexibility.
You have the flexibility. It's
so
built on performance, though. And that's the most important thing. There's so many people in this world that want more, but don't look at actually performing more.
Sure.
And you look at like sports, and my son's into sports. And so I have like a keen eye on this. And like that coach does not care what you were yesterday. If you're not performing today, you're on the way out. It may be over the course of time, but you're on the way out. And so for employees, I really preach on them to perform every day. Be the absolute best. Be the person that is irreplaceable in the business. And I truly believe it's hard to find somebody who's irreplaceable, but strive to be the guy that like they can't do without me.
Sure.
I do so much. I am so good. There's no way they could ever fire me.
Do you do the hiring for 201 still?
No. I lean on the management team to do that because they're going to be the interaction with them.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to step in above their space and say like, hey, so I lean on them to make those decisions. I hold them accountable to those decisions. So,
Well, do you happen to know in the hiring process, is that part of the questions kind of saying like, this is who we're looking for, or how do you attract that type of team member?
yeah, so we're always advertising that we're looking to bring people in, and sometimes
On like
it's
your website or,
so on our
or their
website,
website.
on Indeed, on like any form of outward. We're always looking for that. Anybody walks in the door,
Just always have like your hook in the water.
yeah,
basically.
yeah. We
like,
want
why
to
not?
always have it there because you never know when you're going to run across somebody great.
Right.
And so you're always doing that, and you just tell them, say, hey, listen, we're always turning your resume. If it looks amazing, we're going to reach out to you. And so for us, yes. We want to identify the aptitude of somebody to be great in a certain position. And so we're happy to train, but what training looks like for us, and we hit on this a little bit yesterday, what training looks like for us is a little different than what like training looks like for you guys. You guys bring somebody in and train them to actually do a wrap. And we say, we want to train a newbie that wants to be an installer. You start at the pre-press table. So you're laminating, you're weeding, you're transferring, you're cutting down panels, you're prepping them in boxes for the installers. And then after you do that, I say that's a 1 to 3 year process. You slowly in dead times work out,
they do it for a year?
onto the floor. I say 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
Could be
Wow.
3
That's really
years.
proving like they want to be in the building.
But I don't want to train somebody just to go open up a garage down the street to compete with me. So if you really want it, you got to invest time with me. It's almost like college, right? Like you're not going to get that degree unless you invest
and that's
time
hard
and do the work.
Too. If you've had this issue of the employee that comes in and, hey, I don't know anything at all, but I want this top position.
Correct.
And it is kind of hard, and you'll go through a lot of applicants of just like, well, that's not how it works.
Yeah. So if you put them on the table, that's a low dollar an hour person you're putting on the team. You're testing out their ability to get along with the team, number one, before you just throw them into an install. And you're basically letting them learn over time. And so then when I'm ready to move that guy onto the floor to be an installer, I just go hire another low dollar entry-level guy to learn the table again and start the process all over again. And so in the end, you're kind of got this factory built where you're kind of pumping them through the business. And if you get to 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a year in, you're like, this guy's not cutting it. It's not part of our team. You're not losing an installer. You're losing a pre-press or a table guy.
Exactly.
So
yeah, we've been utilizing our local career center to get high school interns,
which is amazing
for those jobs, which is really nice because they're just excited to be in the building. They're that lower pay amount, and they also weirdly come with like their teachers are over them. So every 2 weeks we have to fill out a report of how is their behavior, are they showing up on time, things like that. So you kind of have like an extra adult looking over it. So it's really interesting, but we treat them exactly the same as the rest of the team, and I tell them that I put them through orientation. They get the same, like we do a point system for like discipline. So that's like a system we have in our shop. We used to just do this like gray area. If you get in trouble by doing something wrong, we'll talk to you. And it just like wasn't working. And now it's like, hey, you broke a core value or you were late. We have a very strict attendance policy because to me, attendance is black or white.
Everything.
Yeah.
it's
And I'm
everything.
just like, so our team has, they can show up 5 minutes late. That's it. Once you hit 6 minutes, that's technically a point. That being said, we're not like a Nazi about it. So if they message and are, hey, I'm stuck at the train or whatever, that's fine.
Right.
And we'll work with them. But after that, it's if you break a core value, you get a point. And what I've noticed is once people hit 1 or 2 points, they start weeding themselves out.
Sure.
Because I think they're realizing like, I'm not able to hit the standard that they want me to do. And I don't want to go through, I don't know that embarrassment is the right word, but I don't want to go through the embarrassment of getting let go.
Accountability.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's another example of a system we put in place. And it's almost like since we've put it in place, we've barely had to use it. But I
Which is
show
the
it at
whole point, right?
orientation.
And that's
Yeah.
what,
which
you
is
know,
great.
like I still tell so many people, they're like, yeah, I have systems. And I'm like, yeah, but if you have systems, they shouldn't require as much of you
Exactly.
as they do. And so when you can put these systems in place and they're successful systems,
Mhm.
you are kind of taking yourself out of the equation,
Mhm.
which is the science behind this whole thing, right? Like
Right.
you don't want to be 60 years old still
On your
at the
hands and knees
same level,
rapping
you
and-
know? Everybody wants to grow in your business. The same is true for you guys as the
Right.
ownership. The owners want to grow in the
Mhm.
business. And so if you're going to get to a point and you can't sell the business, then what are your options? You've just kind of
And
lived
that's a
a
good
life.
point.
You've covered yourself. You've potentially made a good living, which anybody running a shop
Mhm.
correctly should be able to.
Yeah.
But when you get to the end, what do you do?
Right.
So to me, even finding installers, like our production manager now, has been an installer for 26 years. We brought him on because he was working for this company, doing outside work, day in, day out. Just got to the point where he's like, man, I can't do this my whole life. I
Mhm.
was like, hey, how would you like to run a team of guys
Sure.
and manage them and teach them to be as good as you've been
Right.
in an air conditioned shop as a manager instead of you still
perk.
doing that,
The
you know?
AC.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he was like, are you kidding me? Of course I'd like to do. So, I mean, that's where you kind of get that growth in the industry where installers are getting to the point, but they're going to even more want to get to the point, finding a space within the wrap industry that they can grow into where they're not actually laying vinyl.
Yeah.
At 55, 60,
You don't
65
have
years
to
old.
do that
Correct.
forever. There's a lot
Right.
more different realms you can go into. I would say you can almost reach out to any shop and say, I have install experience. I'm looking to get into management. I don't think anyone would be like, oh, we don't need a manager.
Yeah. Right.
I almost say, I know we desperately need one. So shameless plug. If you want to manage some people.
Send me an application.
But send in an application. So, and then especially you get such a leg up if you know how to install.
Sure.
Even if we have an installer who's interested in design, I'm like, just the fact you know install, you already have a leg up
It's huge.
on knowing how to kind
It's
of
huge.
cross train and,
Yeah.
and do those things as well. So awesome. If you could go back in time to when you first started your business, what do you think is something that you think was a huge lesson you learned that you're like, man, if I could have done this one thing differently, it would have made my whole life so much better. Do you have something in mind?
Expectations with customers.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think for me, someone once said, talk about the divorce before the marriage.
Yeah.
And so
Okay, sure.
really say, hey, these are the things that may not go the way that you're thinking they're going to go. When I started in 08, when I started 201 in 08, vinyl wrap was still kind of just emerging,
Yes.
changing the color of a car was still emerging. So people were like, you mean you can't wrap the engine bay? And I'm like, well, I mean, if you're going to drop the motor, then maybe, but no. And so for a lot of customers, it's not that they're a bad customer. It's that they don't understand the process or they don't understand what you're truly
Yes.
working with. So for us, it's important to really set an expectation with the customer. And when we run into problems with customers, you can always kind of go back and see that's where the root was. There wasn't an expectation set. There wasn't it's easy to say yes. What I've learned is that when you start off with a customer and you can build a relationship by saying no, you've got a way better customer. You've got
Yeah.
a way better experience. Everything becomes way better because at that point, their expectation is almost like you're going to say, no, it really doesn't work that way. When you do come back, you're like, yeah, you know what? I can take care of that. It's no problem. They're like,
Sure.
yeah, that's value, right? Like I got a
Yeah.
win for this guy that always says no to me. Professional, gives me all the answers I need, is walking me down the right path, but really shuts me down quite a bit. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying, I don't want to coin it as shutting them down, but just professionally being able to set an expectation with them says, this is what we can do. This may not work the way you
Sure.
think it works.
And best case, you exceed it. And they're
Correct.
thrilled.
100%.
So I always like to say oh, we're not going to be able to do it. And then I'm like, guess what? We actually
Surprising at the
were.
end.
Look at
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know until you get into the install. A huge one in our shop that we had the expectation issue was commercial wraps on Jeeps. because they wanted it to look like paint. And someone would bring us a red Jeep, a yellow Jeep, and you have these little flashes of color where it may have, not been covered all the way. And I was like, man, if we just would have said that in the beginning, it would have been totally fine. So we actually had an example customer that we did that where I was like, I circled on like a picture of her Jeep. I'm like, you're going to see red here, 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 and here. Is that okay with you? She's like, yes. And when she picked it up, she was like, that is way better than what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be way worse. And I'm like, look,
that's that expectation. It's amazing. And ultimately for us, a big thing that I preach with my team is options. So even down to like design, sales, installation, is that when an installer comes back and says, hey, I've run into a problem, come to number one, come to me with a solution. Like, okay, here's what we can do. All right, great. Now we need to present this to the customer. Okay, so we promised you this. We've run into a problem due to this, and here are two options you can choose from.
The options are huge
too. And if you let a customer choose those options, then guess what? Now you didn't choose. It's the customer's choice as to what you did. So imagine a customer trying to come back to you and say like, no, I can't believe you did that. Well, that's what you
picked.
Chose. That's what you asked me to do.
And visuals are huge too. If you can, like on the Hinge one, if we could have wrapped it one way and sent a picture, or the like flush cut way and been like, option A or B, which one do you want to go with? Is 100%. Easier, because I think customers have a really hard time visualizing things.
They do.
And they're like, you get installer lingo going and they're like, I don't know, whatever you think is best. And then you do what you think is best. And
doesn't match their expectation. Yeah, you're right. Yep. You're absolutely right.
So, okay, that's awesome on going back on those expectations. And that also requires in the sales process, taking that extra time.
It does.
So I think sometimes, especially if you're the installer, you're pulling off mid-panel to take a sales call and you're kind of maybe a one-man shop or two-man shop, taking the time to be thorough. So I joke because I'm married to Andrew, so I can get on to him. But the amount of times it would be a quote for full color change, $3,000, whatever the price was at the time, and no details at all.
Right.
And I'm just like, the expectation here is just crazy. Like they think we're going to paint it.
That's right.
So eventually I was able to get it into his head of like, we need to add more details, what's included, how long it's going to take, all of those things.
Yeah. From a sales perspective, I almost think it's required. Like they are creating relationship with this person that's come in the door. And so we need to understand the rest of the business.
Yeah.
What that relationship looks like. What do they hate? I love it when a customer comes in and says, I'm coming to you from another shop.
Yep.
And the worst thing that can happen is they say like, great, welcome. We'll gladly take your business, and give me no information about why they left that shop.
Yeah, you always
What
ask.
did they not like? What prompted them to come here? They may say, oh, well, they wouldn't send me a design without a deposit. Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to send you a design without a deposit either, but if you don't have those discussions and if you can't create that relationship with the consumer, you're starting off on the wrong path.
Yes.
Like you've got to be able to really have the conversation. You've got to be able to communicate that not only to the consumer, but also to the rest of the team that you're working with.
Sure. And something you brought up yesterday that I wanted to make sure we hit on too was with the expectations. You mentioned your showroom.
Yes.
You have the two different displays.
Correct.
Can you tell the listeners about that?
Yeah. So we have two install processes. Okay. So we have what we used to consider commercial and what we used to consider color change. And the reason that we went away from that is because you can now print a custom wrap that's not a commercial customer. That kind of was deceiving. So we have like a level 1 and a level 2. Level 1 basically is no removal of anything. So we're going to install this wrap as a commercial wrap, not removing mirrors. So the expectation of the customer is like, you're going to see color. Just understand you're going to see color. It's going to come off easy. This might be something you could put a guy that's in your warehouse, strip everything off when you're done. You don't have to bring it back to me. So that's an advantage. But in the end, we're not taking anything off. You're going to see color. We're going to cover and install and set up this design and install it to rep your brand the best there.
At a lower cost.
That's going to cost a lower cost. There's a lower cost involved in that. So then we have a premium installation. And that premium installation means that you're not going to see the original color from anywhere outside the vehicle with the doors closed. So you're not seeing any color. It is, things have to be removed, bumpers have to be dropped, headlights have to be, like whatever it takes, we are going to go to that level to ensure that this car that was white looks purple. And so those are the options, again, the customer has right out of the rip. And so they're looking at a bumper that's got the color showing versus one that doesn't. And so they're able to say like, I understand.
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about now. So it helps them, again, get started on the right foot, and really understand what they're dealing with when they're coming to the shop and what we're gonna do for them.
I think that's huge too for competing with the big franchise sign shops.
Sure.
I don't know about in your local area, but in our area, we see the wraps that these sign shops are putting out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is horrible. Then I realized we're doing what you would call your tier 2 wraps, and they're selling the tier 1. And so it kind of allows the customer to decide themselves, am I going to be super picky and want it to look like a supercar wrap, or do I just need my logo to be shown and that's my only goal? And then you're not wasting the manpower and the labor going above and beyond for someone who doesn't need it, and vice versa. So I really like that you said that.
They don't want to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? They want to make sure that
we get that a lot too. Like your price is higher.
Yeah.
But we're doing this tier 2 wrap, and that's a really good way to explain it to a customer.
And the bottom line is a tier 1 wrap is going to draw as much eyes and attention to that brand as a tier 2. So in reality, I say this to customers all the time. It's like sometimes a partial wrap is done right is just as effective as a full wrap. So let's talk about where we fit in your budget, and let's create something for you based on your budget.
Exactly. And that's another good thing that you brought up yesterday too, was you don't have to sell everyone the Taj Mahal of a wrap. They may just want decals.
That's right.
Or something. And then the best thing is hopefully they had such a great experience with you. When they get that next vehicle, they're coming right back in and they're referring as well.
And I want to touch on that quickly. So that's like the 93 Accord lead that you get. And you're like, 93 Accord, right? Like they want a full wrap. Oh yeah, they wanted chrome. Okay. Like realistically, guys, listen, we're not even gonna pitch them. We're not even gonna quote them a chrome wrap on a 93 Accord. Okay. So at that point you go back and you start that relationship like, hey man, I think it would look really cool on your car if we wrapped the roof black and we did your mirrors black, and that would look awesome and it would change your whole car. And I can get that done for, $450.
Yeah. A lot of times they don't know that's an option.
They don't.
Customers think I have to cover the whole thing.
Right. And wraps are talked about as like cool, right? So they're like, I just want a wrap. And then you're like, okay, well, here's a wrap price. They're like, oh, that's way more than I thought. Well, what did you want?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted my roof wrap. Okay, we didn't say that. You said you wanted a wrap, and getting out in front of it and almost saying like, I'm not even going to quote you a full wrap price because the odds are that you're not willing to invest $4,000 or $5,000 into this car.
Right.
And rightfully so. So not letting a lead fall away or losing a lead that you're paying for because you just quote him $3,500, he never responds, he ghosts you, and you never get a job from it. The company spent the money on the lead, you spent the time in quoting them, and you didn't do it the right way. So, understand what you're working with.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we've noticed too, the customers ghosting you thing is almost always, they don't want to say, hey, this was too much.
They don't. Right.
So sometimes our reach out is just like, hey, just so you know, here's some other options that we thought you might be interested in. And then immediately they respond.
Correct.
And they're like, oh, that looks great.
Yep.
So just meeting them where they're at. And you also never know too who that customer knows.
That's right.
So I know we had this one little story. This guy wanted to wrap like this tiny little interior piece of his steering wheel. I mean, it was that big. And I was like, why don't you come look at our scrap? I'll give it to you totally for free. And we'll knock it out real quick. But I'm not going to charge you for this. Like it's not worth it. It's not big. Next thing I know, like a week later, he refers us to this massive HVAC fleet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is crazy. I could have said like, you're not worth my time. Go away. But he definitely didn't look like someone who like would have brought this huge company to us. And so you can't really judge a book by its cover with any of your clients as well.
Yeah. You hear the stories all the time. For us, we had I was taking my kids to a little shaved ice, little stand on the side of the road.
Sure.
And these young little kids were running this, I say young, they're probably in their mid-20s, running this concession stand type thing for shaved ice.
Yeah.
And they were giving away these little punch cards. And I was like, oh, where do you get this done? We order them online. I was like, well, I have a business locally. I could make them for you. And they said, oh, great. Oh, by the way, my dad owns the most prominent HVAC system company in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's all because you were nice.
Wonderful. Just because, a business card. Like,
sure.
No profit margin, really, like just not the job you want to do. But in the end, it creates a relationship and that will drive any business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we're closing out our time today because we rented this booth at SEMA. We're in the super fun cubicle.
Yeah.
We'll see how the sound turns out on it. But is there any parting words that you would like to tell our listeners? Anything you want to promote?
So, Paint is Dead is doing a lot of things going in a lot of directions. For me, my passion is business and growing that in the industry. And most importantly, growing the margins and the money you can actually make as a business owner in this industry. So the what everybody wants in the industry. So in 2026, we're going to be doing some training classes around the country. And we're also opening up opportunities for us to come into your shop and work with you for a week to grow your profit margins and structure your shop to be a more efficient shop. So if you'd like to have information on that or you want to reach out, please feel free to do so. And we'd love to work with you on setting that up.
How could they reach out to you?
So I would tell you a lot of people will just DM me personally on
Like
Instagram.
Okay.
You can reach out to us on the Pain is Dead Instagram account too. It'll get to me. And obviously we'll set up an email and kind of go back and forth.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. So you can click the link there. So
Great.
thank you so much for taking
thank
the
you,
time
guys.
out of your day in Vegas to come meet with me.
Of course.
And be sure to like and subscribe. And we have a couple more interviews coming at you this week. And we will see you again next Tuesday. Thank you.